Happy to be joined by Ryan Fitzpatrick, the Dolphins quarterback, on the podcast this week. And Ryan, I've got some very big news for you. I know you won a game this week, but you also appeared in my Football Morning in America column. So that's really, really quite an accomplishment for you.
Hey, I do love the column.
Okay, so I you got to hear. You're one of my quotes of the week, and I'm going to ask you about it, and then I'm going to ask you to talk about it. All right, you said after you beat the Jacksonville Jaguars on Thursday night, I feel like the luckiest guy in the world sometimes, getting to go outside and play football with my friends, which is something that, quite honestly, sounds like somebody who is 13 years old would say, who would get to go outside and play. So tell me about that. And tell me why you continue to feel this way after all these years.
I love playing the game. I think as I've gotten older, perspective has changed a little bit, but I feel like I'm out there and I've already accomplished way more than, anybody thought or than I even thought. Back in 2005 with the Rams, I was hoping to hang on for a year or two, and it's been an amazing, wild ride. But getting to do it now at age 37 and to be surrounded by a bunch of 20-somethings out there, it does make me feel youthful and just feeding off the energy of my teammates and, having a 21-year-old left tackle that's a lot closer in age to the kids than he is me. It definitely keeps me young.
Yeah, I wonder how it is to deal with Tua Tagovailoa, who obviously was drafted to replace you. And when you guys get together, what do you talk about?
All kinds of different stuff. He's a very interesting guy. He asks a lot of good questions, good football questions when we're in the meeting room or even on the sideline during a game. You could tell that he's very smart in that regard. And just, I think he's probably a little bit of an older soul just in terms of some of the stuff that he's into and some of the discussions we can have. So it's been a lot of fun getting to know him, and he's got a lively personality that, makes everybody smile around the building.
Do you take on a little bit of a different role when the team takes the guy who clearly is going to be their long-term quarterback? I mean, is it different for you this year than it was last year?
For me, it's the same in that preparation is the same. I know my job security really for my whole career, it's a week-to-week proposition, and I've got to go out there and prove it every single week. But with Tua, just being able to slow down sometimes, to be able to take the extra minute to explain something in my thought process, or to sit on the bench during a game and instruct and talk and answer questions. That stuff is maybe a little bit different than, how it would go normally, but I know what my role is, and I know that I'm keeping the seat warm for him. I know the talent that he has, and I'm excited whenever he gets his opportunity, but I feel like I'm going to play a big part in that. And, I'm looking forward to helping him develop as a quarterback.
And I wonder too, how do you deal with, I thought this was a really interesting thing that happened with Josh Rosen. And, I thought you would know how he feels. Josh McCown would know how he feels. Other people who have had so many different coaches in so many different systems. I've always been curious. McCown explained this well one time when I asked him, you've been in about 13 different systems in your NFL career, or I guess you would say coordinators who would be sort of, pretty different. Mm-hmm. And in the time you've been in football, in the 13 years you've been in football, I wonder, how do you adjust when you have to go from one system to another and the new system is 180 degrees different from the system you've just played?
Yeah, and Josh and I have had a lot of conversations about this. Um, for me, I think because I'm a little bit further down the road in my career and I really know who I am as a quarterback and things that I like and don't like, uh, I'm able to enter into a system and really kind of put my own spin on it. And I think as a young player, as a young quarterback, you're still trying to figure those things out about yourself. But the important thing is, when you're in a place, whether you're going to be there for the rest of your career or maybe you're a 1-year rental, and this is what I talked to Josh about a lot, was learn as much as you can about this system, because these are all NFL coordinators. These are all people that have had some sort of success on some level. And I apply so many things from different offenses to the offense I'm in now. They're all just little nuggets and building blocks that you can figure out and pick up as you go further in your career. And he did a good job here in terms of really focusing. Last year, with the system we ran and one of the more complex systems, and then this year just coming in, putting his head down and learning, and hopefully being in familiar territory in Tampa a little bit, it'll help him out. But he did a good job of just learning and trying to hopefully apply some of the lessons he's learned as he goes on in his career.
What other kinds of advice did you give to him? And I ask that because I look at you a lot in your attitude toward the game, like McCown is, which is, look, may the best man win. If it's me, I certainly hope it's me. But if it isn't, how stupid is it to try to work against the guy who I'm competing with? We're all on the same team. So what are the things that you tried to impart to him as he's had a pretty weird start to his career?
Yeah, I think every day you've got to learn something every day. And sometimes it does take sitting back and watching. And this isn't just Josh, but a lot of the young quarterbacks that are coming in, they started from an early age in high school. They walked onto a college campus and they started and they were the man. And then you get to the NFL and it doesn't necessarily happen right away. And I think, the way that you look at that could be difficult. You could look at it as a failure, but on the other hand, I always took it as an opportunity when I got benched or taken out of a game to sit back and to figure out what I need to do to improve myself and to watch the game from that perspective. And that's always helped me, even as close as last year where I started the year, I get benched, Josh goes in for 3 games, just taking a step back and watching what it looked like from the sideline. I was really able to take advantage of that and use that for the rest of the season when I got back in there.
Have you ever figured out why it is that you love this game so much that you're willing to do things like, your family lives in Tampa, right? While you're living, in South Florida. And obviously that can't be a lot of fun for you and your children and your wife and all that. But why do you keep doing it?
Yeah, they've been with me all but the last 2 seasons, and that part has been really difficult. That makes it hard, but there's a joy that I get from being out there on the field. And so in a way it's a little bit of a selfish decision, but I also know that my family, my kids, my dad, I know that people love seeing me out there playing, and I can bring joy to them too. So I've had some ups and downs, and after 2016 with the Jets, it was the lowest of the low for me, and I lost my passion for the game and didn't want to play anymore. And thank goodness Dirk Cutter called me up, and I ended up getting in some games in Tampa, and I was able to find that passion and why I love the game so much, going out there competing with the guys. And here I am still sitting here, 16 years later, still doing it.
why was 2016 such a nightmare other than the record was poor, you didn't have a particularly great year? What really bummed you out about 2016?
Yeah, I think the 2015 was such a good year, and we were 10-6. We just missed the playoffs. Felt like going into the next year we had a real chance. I kind of had my little contract squabble in the offseason, and I didn't play particularly well. I think everything that kind of could have gone wrong went wrong, and magnifying that, just being in the New York market and all that, it was just a very difficult year for me and difficult year for my family, and it takes a lot out of you. So they sucked the life out of me, and I even just confidence wise starting to question, can I still do it, which is something that's never been an issue for me. Those were things that I had to kind of figure out, and luckily, like I said, when Dirk called me and I decided to go to Tampa, really just to kind of be close to Disney World and allow my kids to enjoy the Florida weather. I was able to come around, get back on the field, and really find that joy again.
So January, February, March 2017, you've left the Jets. You're not going back. What are you thinking? I'm going to finally put my Harvard education to work, maybe?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty much it. I just didn't really have a desire. I didn't know if, I would be, if there were any teams that were going to reach out. And, I was not at peace with the way that it ended, but at peace with my career and just kind of all the people and relationships that I had made, and, being able to do it longer than I ever thought I'd possibly be able to do it. But, and sitting and talking with my wife and making those tough decisions, she's always been in my corner, and Liza kind of said, if your heart's in this, we're all about it. Let's do it. And that was a big reason too. She let me make that decision, and knew, I think in the back of her mind, it was the right decision for me to make. And it's been a great run the last 4 years.
That's really a heck of a life partner for somebody to say that, because I can just imagine she's probably longing for somebody who is going to live a normal life, who can help her with the kids, and help her with the real world stuff,
Yeah. And I think, I think the list is there. She keeps making her little tally. So it's just getting longer and longer, but eventually I'll have to give her some payback here.
A couple of more things that have always sort of intrigued me about your career. No matter where you are kind of totally into it. The stat this week that is absolutely amazing is that you have beaten the Jacksonville Jaguars with 6 different teams. And it is thought that nobody in NFL history has ever done that. I can't imagine what quarterback would have beaten, the same team with 6 different teams. But what do you think that says about you?
It says I bounce around a lot, obviously, but I do think, on a serious note, just in terms of my resiliency and being in so many different places, and how much this game means to me, but also just confidence, and never really losing confidence in myself as a football player. And because it hasn't been the easiest of roads, and I'm not complaining one bit, because I've really enjoyed every stop that I've made and the people that we've met. But I think just resiliency, and the fact that my number one asset has always been belief in myself. And I think that's kind of carried through, and it's kind of a cool, there's a bunch of really random stats that are popping up about me now. My dad is on top of all of them, but that's kind of a cool one that is head scratching if you really take a minute to think about it.
Yeah. I went back and I looked up all the days, all the years that you did it, and it goes back to 2008. So you've done it over 13 seasons. which is really, it's really kind of amazing. Any of
Well,
those games, by the way, really stick out? You beat them as a Bengal.
well, that was
You
my
know,
first ever win that was my
oh,
first
is
ever
that right?
win as a starter. So that was a big one. I think Dirk Cutter and Todd Monken were on the other sideline, and we ran into each other in Tampa years and years later. But I remember that one. And my dad has that jersey framed at his house. First career
From that game?
from that game. Yeah.
Wow.
So that one was pretty cool.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to ask you just a couple of things about life too. So, all the places you've lived in all these different cities, what do you think it's taught you, and what do you think it's taught your children?
I mean, the one thing that my wife always says, which I think has just been an unbelievable way to look at it. Every time we go to and get the moving vans and go from one place to the next, it's not, her attitude is not, oh shoot, we got to move again. It's we're on to the next adventure, and everywhere we go, we really dive into the community. Basically the way I pick the houses is I look at good public schools, and we get somewhere close to a good public school and just really dive in through youth sports, through activities, through hanging out in the front yard with the neighbors. And that's been the winning formula for us everywhere we've been. We've just come into contact with so many amazing, amazing families and people. And I think because my wife views it as that, my kids see it the same way and have such a great outlook on life. And, the older that they get, the more difficult these moves become because there's more emotion and things tied to it. But at the same time, it's been such a blessing to be able to do it and, have the means to do it comfortably, and just the people we've met, I wouldn't trade it for a thing.
Is that one of the reasons, the difficulty in the moves, one of the reasons why they stayed back in Tampa while you're in Miami? Is it just easier
Yeah,
as a family?
it's not too far away.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit easier just in terms of some of the stability and stuff as the kids get older. But luckily we're able to have fans in Miami, and so they'll come out to all the home games, and that part of it's been really good. And now, of course, with FaceTime and Zoom and all that, it doesn't make it any easier, but it's nice to be able to see them and do that. But in all that too, just they know how important this is to me. They know how important they are to me, but just the sacrifice. And I always think about the sacrifice that I'm making to be here. I want it to be worth something, and I want to make sure, whether it's teaching Tua or guiding these guys on Sundays, like that what I'm doing and the sacrifices I'm making for my family are worth it.
Do you think whenever it ends this year, next year, whenever, that you'll always look at Tua Tagovailoa and say, I helped water that garden?
I mean, as long as he has a great career. If he has a great career, I'm taking all the credit for it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'll be the first one to say I don't even know that guy. Things go south, but I expect good things from him. So, I said it earlier, but I'll be his biggest cheerleader when he gets in there.
I also think it's kind of cool how you kind of have embraced the whole Florida thing, with the with the shirts and everything about it. But what seems odd to me is men in Florida, where it's predominantly hot during the course of the year, do not grow beards like this. And the most common question I think you must get is, I know you get used to a beard because I used to have one a long time ago.
Yeah.
But at some point, doesn't it get just totally ridiculously hot?
It's been a part of me for so long that I'm used to it. I don't know. Like, the genesis, this started, I didn't even know I could grow a beard I couldn't grow a beard for a long time. And when I got to Buffalo, I did it out of necessity, because it was so cold and I wanted to see if it would grow. And all of a sudden I realized wow, this thing kind of took on a life of its own. And it's who I am now. So I don't even really notice it, to be honest, one way or the other.
We'll end with this. I was doing some statistical work over the weekend, and I find that the quality of quarterbacking in the NFL right now, I think, is so incredibly good. And, I looked up in the year 2000, there were 5 guys who had a passer rating over 95. In the year 2010, there were 6 guys who had a passer rating over 95. And this morning, as we sit here, there are 16 guys who have a passer rating over 95. Now, who knows? By the end of the year, it might be 8 or 9 or 10, but it's not going to be 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And so tell me, in your mind, why has the quality of quarterbacking improved almost everywhere throughout the league during the course of your career?
Well, I think guys are coming in more polished. I do think that's part of it. I think being able to rely on the space game a little bit, and so some of these what I would call breather plays where there's not a whole lot of thought as a quarterback that needs to go in it, but you're kind of taking advantage and winning, by horizontally stretching the field and getting guys in space with the throws. I think completion percentages have gone up because of that as well. And then this year, something's a little bit different about the early part of this year, and it probably has to do with the lack of off season. And I think we'll start to see defenses catch up a little bit here as the season goes on. But I don't know the stats, but I feel like the scoring's been up a little bit. And I think that'll continue to come down. But guys, definitely more polished coming in. I think the receivers, the quality of receiver right now from top to bottom is the best that I've ever seen it. And I don't know if that's because kids are playing football and flag football much younger or what it is, but that part of it's been cool to see too.
You got that young kid, right? Williams, right? From, who was a free agent last year.
Yeah.
And I look at him, he's like 6'5", great hands. And I look at him and I say, how in the world does he not get drafted? And then I say, well, because there's so many of them,
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of guys that walk into a building, even an NFL building, that look like him, and so he's a classic example of a guy that came in as an undrafted free agent and really produced well his rookie year, ended up getting hurt. But there's a glut of receivers right now, and it's just going to be better and better for our game.
Hey, Ryan Fitzpatrick, I really appreciate you taking some time and talking to me. Good luck the rest of the way, and good luck with the rest of your life. I think whatever you do, you'll probably have fun.
All right. Thank you, Peter.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.